Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. This is year number 25 of our partnership with #1 Cochran. So it is a celebratory season, and it's a celebratory Sunday for all you Steeler fans out there because you got your wish. The Steelers are going to the postseason, finalized tonight. Welcome to our Showdown show. That's going to be our #1 topic here tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Here to share all their ideas and thoughts is your panel tonight. Andrew Fillipponi, 93.7 The Fan, the PM team. To his left, it's Ray Fittipaldo, does a great job with the Post-Gazette covering the Steelers. And to his left, it's Jeff Hathhorn, the man in charge of everything up at Sports Radio 93.7 The Fan. Ray, I want to start with you. We have a lot to get into here, but the question, which I don't think is much of a question, but I think we need to start right off the bat, considering Mason Rudolph is 3-0 as a starter, Mike Tomlin doesn't seem to be ready to go away from the hot hand. But there are some people out there who think Kenny Pickett should start this game. How do you think it's going to go down?
They're going to ride Mason Rudolph until he makes a mistake. And that could be in the playoff game, but that could be in the divisional round or even later. 3 starts, Bob, 112 rating or higher in each of those 3 starts. In this latest game, 18 for 20, big touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson. He's the guy going forward.
You agree? I don't think there's much of a debate here, guys, do you? Or is there?
No, and I used to be Kenny Pickett's biggest fan. And I will even admit that I don't even really think there's a discussion to be had on this one. It's Mason Rudolph's job. I thought it was interesting that all day on Saturday before the game, we kept getting national reports that Kenny Pickett is still the Steelers' starting quarterback. Why? I mean, I don't get that part of this.
Well, it wasn't about now. It was they haven't lost faith in him as a franchise.
Yes, they have.
Oh, I agree. He was benched. He was benched in this game.
This is a performance-based thing.
Right.
Mason Rudolph isn't playing quarterback because Kenny still has a bum ankle.
Right.
He's playing the most important games, including the one that's going to be Sunday in Orchard Park, because Mike Tomlin thinks Mason Rudolph is better than him. And how is that going to change in an offseason when neither of them are playing meaningful games?
But it's about right now. It's about winning right now. And it could change in the offseason. They could come back and have Kenny Pickett be their starting quarterback next season. The decision is about right now. That's why there is no debate on who the starting quarterback is.
But, Jeff, how does Kenny Pickett leapfrog Mason Rudolph in the offseason if they re-sign Rudolph when they've trusted Rudolph to play these games?
In these pressure-packed games, these are all must-wins.
Right, but you have to assume that Mason wants to come back. The ball's in his court now.
Maybe.
He could go somewhere else. Yeah, there's going to be offers.
They're not going to tag him, Bob. That's not what you're saying.
No, I'm saying maybe in that he may go elsewhere. He may decide that that's the, and it depends on where I think he needs to be assured at the very least that there is a legitimate chance to start. And if he gets that and the money that comes with that, fine. But if he's not, because he went through that competition, which really wasn't one, Jeff, right? So what would it take to keep him here if that's the case?
I mean, I don't know what other teams are going to offer, and I would be lying if I said I had an idea. Probably a couple-year deal, though, not a one-year deal. He's going to want some security.
Well, keep in mind, Bob, that none of the other 31 teams wanted Mason Rudolph. He came back for the vet minimum. That's not going to be the case this time, but I don't necessarily think he's going to get the Mitch Trubisky contract, $8 million a year. It could be in that $5-6 million range as well.
Trubisky won't be back, though, right?
No, he's played his last game for the Steelers.
All right, well, one guy hopefully hasn't this season is T.J. Watt. Jeff, I want to ask you about that because now they have to go into a situation, you know the numbers, the Steelers without T.J. Watt, not very good. What do they do to compensate for his loss?
Yeah, 1-10. That's not good. I mean, Marcus Golden is probably as good a backup as they've had at that position since T.J.'s been here. So that's encouraging. A guy who's played in playoff games, a guy who's played a lot of snaps in his career. And Herbig's an up-and-coming guy. So they do have more depth than they've had in recent years. But let's be serious. No one can make up for T.J. Watt.
Yeah, listen, Marcus Golden quietly 4 sacks this year. Herbig had the big game in Seattle last week. I think this is the best set of backups that they've had. I mean, in years past, guys like Cassius Marsh, Anthony Chickillo, it's not that bad anymore. I'm not saying they're going to make up for the loss of T.J. Watt, but it's better than it has been.
I don't really even want to think about that yet. The way that things played out the last few weeks, including earlier Sunday when you had Tennessee get the Steelers in, I agree with Jeff's stat. I mean, it speaks for itself. They don't play well when the best defensive player in the entire world is unavailable to them. But I just don't want to I don't want to come to grips with that yet.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it.
There's a little bit of a celebratory. Do you see my dance on Twitter? I mean, there was a little bit of a festive atmosphere
you
here.
need a few lessons, but that's okay.
I agree.
At least the effort
I
was
think
there.
he's the guy to show you.
But don't you agree? Like, it's tough to transition from the elation of, oh my God, they made the playoffs, to, oh wait, their best player.
Well, Buffalo lost a lot of guys here tonight.
But
too,
there's no other TJ Watt.
No, I
He's
get
one
that.
of
I get that. The thing about it, if they're going to be successful, I think in defense against Buffalo, they got to be off the field a lot.
Right.
Ray, that's been one of the things they've done. Last week, only 47 defensive snaps. The run game has really come alive to the point where it's made dominant possession times. Has that been the biggest difference for you, aside from Mason being the spark that makes that happen?
Yeah, listen, the run game travels in January. You're going to be going up to Buffalo. The weather's not going to be great. That offensive line is playing really well right now, and I think Najee Harris is playing the best football of his career. And one thing we should mention, they're not going to have TJ Watt, but Minkah Fitzpatrick will be back. He told me that in the locker room after the game. DeMonte KZ as well, off that 3-game suspension. He'll be back. They got to reshuffle that secondary. That'll be a story this week, but they do get 2 healthy guys back for the play.
And Eric Rowe has all of a sudden become a fixture back there. He's played very well.
Yeah, and he likely won't be on the field. Although there'll probably be some packages where you want to have him out there because he's been a short tackler. That's the thing that sticks out about Rowe. But yeah, you get those 2 guys back. Hopefully Landon Roberts can have a few days to rest. I tell you what, that guy though has played gutsy.
To the run game point that you just mentioned with Najee, because I'm sure you guys get this on social media too. There's a faction of Steelers fans that are so adamant about Pickett being the guy that they want to take credit away from Rudolph, so they're bringing up things like the run game has done. So let me ask you this question. If Kenny is healthy and starts the last 3 games, do the Steelers make the playoffs?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because you know what? The pass game opens up the run.
That's what I think.
But what it does is it makes they have to keep honest that pass game. Whereas before, maybe they didn't. They put 8 guys in a box. Now they don't have to do that because they have to make sure that they have people back there, and it lessens, right? Is that the way you look at it, right?
I mean, Mason Rudolph has 3 touchdown passes of 70 yards or more in 3 starts. They didn't have that from Mitch Trubisky, and they certainly didn't have that from Kenny Pickett.
And granted, a couple of the defenses weren't as good, but you still have to execute the plays, and Mason executed them.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, we have a lot coming up here. And we're going to get into the matchup, the Buffalo Bills, and there's a lot to talk about with that. We'll do it next on this 25th year anniversary of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown here on KDKA. Thanks for staying up with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 25th anniversary season of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown here on KDKA. As we continue talking about the matchup, you'll see it on Sunday at 1 here on KDKA, and we'll wrap it all up, pregame, postgame, all the stuff that comes with it. Steelers right now, Andrew just said as he went on a FanDuel, -9? That's a little high, is it? 9.5 points. That strikes me as.
Started at 7.5 about.
Oh yeah, why do you think that's the case?
Buffalo's won 5 in a row, so they're the hottest team.
Yep.
They were 3 out with 5 left, and they came all the way back and leapfrogged Miami. Josh Allen. I mean, I know that he has a penchant for turning the ball over, but other than Lamar Jackson in the AFC, no other quarterback is playing better than him right now.
Although Stroud's playing some pretty good football.
When he's healthy, he's pretty darn good, yeah. And of course, Jeff's got to put the Ohio State guy over.
Well, but you know what? There's been all the comparisons between Allen and Roethlisberger. What Buffalo's doing now reminds me of that wild card Steeler run, but they don't have to come from the wild card. They're in the 2 seed.
The one thing he does, he has 15 rushing touchdowns to tie Jalen Hurts, I think, with the most this season. And he's capable, and we saw him tonight. He's fearless when he starts running the ball. So, Ray, what's it going to take to win up there? What do the Steelers have to do in this matchup?
I mean, the Bills have been in playoff mode for about 6 weeks now. So they were behind the 8 ball. But if you look at it, the way they finished the season, a top 10 team, offensively, statistically, top 10 defensive team as well. I think the one area that the Steelers can maybe exploit is they're not a great run defense team. And I think you saw that in the first half of tonight's game against the Dolphins. Dolphins had 100 yards rushing. Now, the Bills shut that down in the second half. But if the Steelers can do what they've done for the last 3 weeks, stay on the field, shorten the game, I think they'll have a chance at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Miles Killebrew blocking another punt up there that turns into
Special
a touchdown
teams,
would be big.
just like we saw tonight in Buffalo game.
And Mason hasn't made any mistakes, no turnovers. Can't make any turnovers up there because Buffalo has improved. They've gotten some guys back healthy defensively, and they are better.
All right, let's talk about the job Mike Tomlin has done. He's been, mentioned quite a bit It seems to me that an extension is forthcoming if he wants to get that. Overall, this is another typical Mike Tomlin coach team, I think, in that there were doubters along the way, Andrew, and here he is now, got into the playoffs. I think the big thing will be what they do. The last time they've been in the playoffs, last several times, right? I mean, it's been 40-point games they've allowed defensively. So it hasn't been good, and they've been out of the games early. Your take on his job?
I think he's done a good job. I would probably stop there. I would not extend or be any more complimentary than that. Obviously, where they were before the Bengals game, I thought he was having probably his worst coaching season. So I give him credit for going to Rudolph. I think it was later than it needed to be. I think he should have gone to him 2 games prior against New England. I thought Matt Canada was obviously a gigantic mistake. So those are the things that hold him back as far as like getting a better grade from me. And obviously what happens in this game Sunday is going to go a long way. For me, now that Watt's out, as long as they are competitive in Buffalo, I will look at it as not a bad season.
Ray, you're a hard grader in the
game.
Post-Gazette, I noticed. So what is your take on this?
No, I think if you want to look at the big picture, like Andrew brought up, I think it's a great point. He hired Matt Canada. They brought Mitch Trubisky in, and that didn't work out.
Yep.
So if you want to knock him for that in the front office, you certainly can. But when it comes to what he's done the last 3 weeks, they were pretty much left for dead. I want to say they had like a 6% chance of making the playoffs after that Indianapolis game. Now look where those two teams are. Everyone's talking about, they need to go get a young coach like Shane Steichen. Now, it's the old guy back in the playoffs, and he did it again.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's not really so old. I mean, he's just been around forever. Right. The thing that the players talk about is that his message stays the same. Week after week after week, he doesn't get too freaked out. He doesn't get too low, and I think that works in his advantage, and it allows guys to step onto the moving train, because he has a consistent message. He's not going up and down with what he expects.
All right, Steelers underdogs, heavy underdogs, 9.5 points. We'll see what happens as the week goes on. When we come back, there's some really interesting games this coming wild card weekend. That's my favorite weekend of the football season, this upcoming one. We'll break some of them down next, right here on the 25th anniversary season of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. 25th anniversary season of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We're talking about all these games. Great television watching coming up this weekend. I'm going to start with you, Jeff. Browns and Texans. Joe Flacco, who many think could be the comeback player of the year, against the up-and-coming Ohio State product.
Did I mention C.J. Stroud?
Yes. By the way, I think D'Amico Ryan should be coach of the year. That's just my opinion.
I think it's the guy on the other side of the sideline.
I don't.
Should be coach of the year. I mean, what he's done with the Browns, they lost their best player early in the season, and they've found ways with all these different quarterbacks, picked up Joe Flacco, allowed him to be aggressive and get them into the playoffs. I think the Browns are a scary team. I think Cleveland wins.
I agree with you. I think if the Browns can get past this game, they can make a run. I like the Browns in a close game here.
By the way, T.J. Watt had more sacks in the third quarter of Saturday's game than Myles Garrett has had in the last 2 months.
Yeah, but what is it about that? You know, I look at TJ's numbers.
Pressure rate.
But it's the pressures.
Yeah.
Oh, the pressure. He has enough pressures. He's had 30 quarterback,
it's like
36
it's like
quarterback hits.
it's like the way they vote on baseball awards now. It's about advanced.
All right. How do you see the game?
I think the Browns are going to win, but I'm nervous now because we all like the same team.
I like the Houston Texans. You didn't ask me. That's who I like. All right, nightcap will be Miami, Kansas City. I don't think people thought this would be a wild card matchup, but it is, Jeff. Who do you like?
It's going to be cold there. I'll go with Kansas City.
The Dolphins are banged up now. Watch out for the Chiefs. They know how to win in the playoffs. I know they're not the same team offensively. I just like their background, the fact that they've been there before. I think they get by.
I like Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a great storyline. We have a lot of those. Yeah, so you like Kansas City?
No, I like
you
Miami.
like Miami. Miami's defense on the road does not travel well. I mean, that's just, even though
How about the Chiefs' offense at home?
I know, it's been awful. I know, it's just one of those things. All right, next day would be, of course, Steelers playing at 1 against Buffalo. Then after that, it's Green Bay and Dallas. Jeff, Dallas is coming on strong. Eagles have collapsed, but Green Bay is a good young team, and they got players, and Jordan Love has been outstanding.
There's always got to be one team that chokes. It'll be Dallas. Green Bay.
Classic NFC playoff matchup. I think Jordan Love's time is coming, but I like Dak in this game.
Mike McCarthy against his own old team.
Yeah, another
That
storyline.
angle. No, I like Dallas to win.
All right, then we have the night game. This is the most intriguing one for me all weekend long, and that would be Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff going head-to-head. You can't ask for something better in Detroit. Who do you like, Lions or do you think Rams? And the Rams have a lot of talent.
I mean, the Lions' last loss was very sketchy, to say it nicely. I think the Lions are just a good football team. That place is going to be nuts. Yeah. Lions, I think, roll in that game.
Wow.
Roll.
It's a shame these two teams are playing in the first round because I think both are capable of making a run. I want to see Detroit win because it's a long time coming for that city, but I'm going with Matthew Stafford in the Rams.
I like the Rams, too. How about
I think they're going to be a team that could go all the way.
Dan Campbell played his starters today and lost Sam Laporta in the first quarter.
One of the best young tight ends in the game.
One of the dumbest
I couldn't
things.
believe he did it.
Well, they had a shot at the 2 seed.
They needed Dallas to lose at Washington, Ray.
But they had a shot.
The Steelers had a chance to move up seed a few years ago, and they benched all their guys in Week 17. That's what you do in those situations. Andy Reid benched his guys today.
Yeah, you got to wonder how
You're an
serious
aggressive
that
guy.
injury.
You got to learn tough lessons. And
he's aggressive. All right, on Monday night, Eagles and Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield could be in the conversation for Comeback Player of the Year. He won't get it, but Baker Mayfield against an Eagles team that's fallen apart.
Wow. This should be easy Eagles. I'll say the Eagles get off the mat and find a way to win a close game.
Worst game of the weekend. I think these are two teams that probably won't advance very far, but I'll take the Buccaneers in this one.
Yeah, I think if we're power ranking the teams in the playoffs, these are the two worst at the moment.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's Monday night, actually.
I take the Eagles. I don't know why. Tampa Bay, even though they won today, again, was not convincing against Carolina. They needed a guy to fumble the ball through the end zone to win that game.
Pretty amazing. Good play by Winfield. He came over and made that play. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk more about 25 years of doing this show with number one Cochran as our sponsor. That's next, right here on the Showdown. All right, welcome back. You remember this. 25 years of doing this program. We've covered quite a bit of stuff. This is Ben Roethlisberger's last home game. You remember he circled the stadium, waved to everyone. They won that game, and a lot of thank you, Ben signs. It's amazing. It's already been this much time past here.
Where was that for Bill Belichick today? In New England. He didn't get any send-off whatsoever, Bob.
But he kind of downplays everything everyone. I don't know what the people in New England think, but I think it's over there. Do you?
Yes. That's the consensus.
And what about all these coaches now? Vrabel may be gone. Who ends up there? Is Jim Harbaugh, Ray, in this discussion of any of these teams?
They're talking about Jim Harbaugh in L.A. for the Chargers, in Vegas for the Raiders maybe, although it seems like Antonio Pierce deserves that job. But I think Harbaugh after Monday night is going to be in play. Yeah,
he's been dancing around that all week. I think he'll be in L.A. with the Chargers. I mean, look at that situation. It seems like a pretty good one if you're a good coach.
It doesn't seem like any big-name offensive head coaches are going to get fired, and I bring that up because you obviously think about them as coordinators here.
How about Arthur
next
Smith?
year? He doesn't know how to use their best players, Ray. I know his quarterbacks stink, but he couldn't get Bijan
Frank
Robinson
Reich?
the
Does
ball
Frank Reich need a job
all year.
Yeah.
I mean, he got fired so quickly down there by David Tepper. Do you think that's a good question to talk about? What does Mike Tomlin, what do the Steelers do as far as their offensive coordinator? I mean, there are some people who think this combination of Faulkner and Sullivan is working well. Why not, or don't change it? But Jeff, I think they got to make a big search here. Do you think they're going to go in that direction?
It's like the coach, the interim coach that wins a bowl game. Sometimes you can get enamored and you get short-sighted and just hire that person. They have to do a wide search on this.
How about Eric Bieniemy, who's not going to be?
I think that'd be a good choice.
They need to find somebody who can work with Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph, but I think Kenny Pickett in the future, get him better. I think you have to focus on the quarterback.
And hopefully someone without ties that can just bring in whole new ideas, not Leftwich or someone that's been in the organization.
Or maybe somebody to work with Michael Penix or Justin Fields, Bob. Seriously, Fields is not going to be on the Bears next year.
Oh, I disagree. You think he's going to be? I don't know about
He's 100% gone. They're taking Caleb Williams. They scored, 9 points today?
I don't know. You think that?
No.
I think there's a 0% chance he's back there.
What would it take? It may not cost as much as you may think, though.
And see, that's where I think people think that he hates Mason Rudolph. I think it's because that he doesn't have the mobility. That's why he doesn't like him. It's none of the other stuff. It's nothing personal.
So what are you saying?
He likes
You think they go
athletic
after
quarterbacks. I'm just saying that athletic quarterbacks are something Mike Tomlin likes.
Hey, guys, they got 2 more years with Kenny Pickett on a rookie contract.
Making only $3 million, though, Ray.
Yeah.
All right.
I understand that.
It's going to be interesting to see. I can tell you this, though. A lot of people have seen and bought vehicles from number one Cochran over the years. And now it's your turn to sell them a car. It's super easy. Hassle-free. You get the payment, excuse me, right on the spot. Excuse me as I cough my way through this. The best part, Cochran can pay more for used cars because they sell more used cars. Sell yours entirely online at Cochran.com. Number one, Cochran buys cars. All right, before we go, there's a big game tomorrow. It is the national championship, Washington, Michigan. Andrew, what do you like in that game? I'm going to tell you, I love Michael Penix, and I love Washington to score points on that defense.
I do too, but I'm nervous because I have not heard somebody really bang the drum for Michigan, and they're favored in the game.
Yeah.
And I get scared that their beef inside is going to be the difference on the lines in this matchup, offensive line and defensive line.
Storybook ending for Michigan and Harbaugh. He rides off into the sunset and into the NFL.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Washington, but actually Michigan's really, who thought they would have beat Alabama? I mean, everyone's been kind of doubting them all year because of all the stuff that happened early in the season. They're a really good football team.
That
They're
play call at the
defensively
end
sound.
and the snap killed Alabama. They had no chance to recover from that play. All right, guys, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Look forward. It's a busy week. We'll be talking about it on the radio. You'll be writing about it. We'll be talking about it here on TV. That's going to do it for our show. Again, our thanks to Number One Cochran. 25 years of this amazing sponsorship will continue next Sunday night. We'll know if the Steelers advance to the division round. Thank you for joining us on the Number One Cochran Sports Showdown.